Because it is true that people have rights to their opinions, and we are practicing democracy. This is not a military government. So you probably would expect situations like this. Everybody would not agree or concur with the pardon granted by His Excellency, Mr. President. You know, while that is true, we should be cautioned. We should pause and reflect on what the law says about pardon. We should have a rethink about what the Constitution, about what in fact is pardon, as exercised by His Excellency, Mr. President.
Maybe you should do that for us, because as Chairman rightly said, we're a little bit confused now, because you hear lawyers that bicker on the same issue, and they're all speaking based on the constitutionality or otherwise of this same action of the President.
Okay. First of all, I've also listened to that. I've listened to my senior colleague, Richard Akinjide, who came one time and made some very brilliant submissions. I've also taken the time to listen to Festus Keyamo, strong opposition. Now, the issue is very simple. First of all, what is pardon? Pardon is, if you look at it, pardon comes from a maxim that which means perdonare. Perdonare, what does it say? It's a gift. It's a gift. That is the maxim. What then is pardon? Pardon is an unmerited favor given by Mr. President out of his benevolence as a supreme leader. What did our law say? The Constitution of our dear respected country is very simple. It's trite on this matter. The power of Mr. President, His Excellency, that flows from Section 175 of the Constitution. What did it say? On prerogative of mercy. It said that the President may grant pardon. That pardon that is so granted out of his benevolence to anyone he chooses fit is to be done in consultation with Council of State. Mr. President did not wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to grant pardon to so and so person. He consulted with the Council of States. Who are the members of the Council of States? You have there, of course, Mr. President as the chairman. You have his vice president as the deputy of the council. You have, again, all the governors of this country. You also have, of course, past presidents of this country. You, of course, have heads of states. You also have all attorney general of our dear country. You further have all chief justice of this country.
Can any of these people oppose when such are brought before them, tabled before them?
If there was such a position, I think they should have told us.
And you just mentioned governors, and we have some 7 governors who are from the opposition party. Has anyone spoken up against the same pattern?
I am not in the know of that. But the issue is that for the president to grant pardon, Section 175, subsection 2, made it expressly clear that he would consult with so and so person who are the Council of State to reach this decision.
So are you saying that this outrage,
yes,
that we're saying, all of this responses by opposition,
yes,
some civil society organizations,
yes,
all of them is totally unnecessary or uncalled for?
The issue, my dear, is not unnecessary. The issue is that they are expressing their rights, their opinion, and they are entitled to it in a democratic setting like this. You can't have all persons, reach a holistic opinion. People are bound to react in situations like this. I'll give you an example. Without, for instance, in the United States of America, what happened? Clinton granted pardon. He granted pardon. When he was about to leave office, he granted pardon to over 456 persons on 1 or 2 related criminal offenses, one of which is Rogers Clinton, who was, I think, his brother, stepbrother or something. And that matter generated a lot of hits. It was further challenged by a federal prosecutor. Those prosecutors were appointed to investigate the pardon by His Excellency, the President of the United States of America. First of them was Mary Jo White, who was a Democrat. Afterwards, it was then changed to another Republican, James Comey, who also, both of them, when they investigated the executive office and power of the president, it was to a nullity.
So do you think then that all of this talk about its perception concerning the fight against corruption, where
yes.
some those who have been involved say, look, you're giving the wrong impression.
Yes.
Some about the fight against corruption in this country, people will think that, well, yeah, I might as well be guilty. At the end of the day, if I do my time and I apply, who knows? I might just get pardoned. So why don't I continue? Money talks, they say, and other things happen.
With respect, I think anybody in that boat is doing so at his own peril.
Really?
Yes.
How?
You cannot say because Mr. President, in his wisdom and constitutional powers pursuant to the provisions of the laws of our people, haven't so granted pardon out of his benevolence and mercy to whom he deems fit, you will now go and commit a crime. You doing so, you are risky. You are just playing with the laws, and it's maybe unfortunate.
But the flip side of it is that, something may be well intended, but it comes across the other way. And that's how a lot of people have categorized this one. They say, well, yes, you may have meant to, but look, it's not rubbing off well, because now you have countries that he was talking about, visa restriction, how this also sends wrong signal against fighting corruption, and it all goes on.
Well, with respect to all of these oppositions, particularly as they affect the United States and the Nigerian bilateral ties and understanding, I think with serious respect that these are matters of territorial limitations, which strictly bounds on Nigerian jurisdiction, and therefore any law outside the purview of our dear nation is to that extent persuasive and does not have binding effects on the Nigerian people.
Well, you realize that, you've used the Clinton example, as you yourself noticed. He granted pardon on his last day in office. Assuming President Goodluck Jonathan were to run for another term in office, how do you think this would affect his political chances?
Assuming without conceding, he wants to run, the matter is a legal matter which is settled by law. The power to grant pardon is a gift.
Are we looking at only the legality here? We're not looking at because a host of lawyers have agreed with you, even those who criticize it, say, looking at it legally, there is nothing illegal about it. The process was followed, due process was followed. What they're looking at is the morality and the context in which the pardon has been granted. What do you think of that? There's no question of morality for you?
The issue of morality is well applauded. But when you weigh it vis-a-vis what the law says, Section 1 answers it all. It says that the law is supreme and has a binding effect on the good people of Nigeria and all other authorities.
Have you heard the phrase? In recent times, a host of people have been saying, some lawyers did say it on our program, that what this sends to a host of people, especially to youths out there who are coming up, is that if you by some means decide to do something wrong, do it well, so that at some point, who knows, you can get presidential pardon. Is that the kind of message, or do you think that we sent that message somehow inadvertently through this action to youths in, coming up?
Let me make it very clear that by the president's, exhibition of his executive power is not an indication in all or minutest opinion or ramification to propagate corruption. That does not mean he's propagating, he's spreading, he's applauding corruption. He has made it very clear on many times Nigeria is trying as much as possible to fight corruption. But it is being misunderstood by his powers to so pardon who he deems fit. And the power of pardon is not only enshrined in the Nigerian constitution, but on all other constitutions of great countries. I've just cited